Welcome back to this session of Xcode in the Playground. We'll be focusing on repetition and in this tutorial looking at conditional loops. So the learning objectives are: what are conditional loops? What are boolean conditions? Terminators, the while loop, which is known as a pretest loop, or the do until, which is the posttest loop. And also we'll have time to do a nested looping example. Now there are two conditional loops, one's known as a pretest and the other known as a posttest. We commonly call a pretest loop a while do loop. So while the condition is true, we do something. The other type of conditional loop is a posttest loop, which is a do until, or sometimes known as a do while loop. So we do something and then we check to see if we need to do it again. So pretest is check before we do, and posttest is check after we do it to see if we need to do it again. The main difference between a pretest and a posttest loop is, in a pretest, the loop may never occur or never run, which means if the condition was while error 404, then do this, if you never have an error 404, then that code will never run. Now conditional loops run off of Boolean conditions. These come from comparison operators. So we have the equal to, not equal to, the greater than, less than, greater and equal to, and less than and equal to. And you have to remember from the greater gator, the gator eats the larger number. So 67 is less than 76. Or you can read it in reverse, 76 is larger than 67. Now, because computers work sequentially, the condition would result true because 67 is less than 76 and therefore would carry out the conditional loop for a while loop, and in a post test would go back and do the loop again. So let's go have a look at this in action in the Xcode playground. So let's start a new project in there and let's look at some syntax. So let's start by putting developer comment at the top, and like usual we'll put our name in as the developer. And we're going to be looking first of all at the pretest loop. So I'm just going to put in a comment and we're going to make this the pretest loop. Now the pretest loop uses the while statement. So while the condition. And if that condition is true, then it will carry out the statements that are in the middle. Now these statements can be multiple lines, they could call functions, they could do all sorts of things to carry out your program. So this will occur while the condition is true. If there is no terminator inside the loop, it will never end. So it's really important that you have in here a terminator. This is a flag that will turn the condition from true to false. Otherwise, we will stay inside this loop repeating these lines of code until someone turns the computer off. So with a pretest and a posttest loop, you must have a terminator in there, a statement that can change the flag from true to false. So let's have a look at some syntax for the while loop. So let's set a variable, let's set lives to 3. So if we're designing a computer game, it'll be something like this. So we've got 3 lives. So while the lives are greater than 0, we want to do something. So what we're doing here is a pretest. So we're going to test before doing. Now you don't have to type these developer comments in. This is a developer comment, but it's there to remind you what's happening. So we check before we run this body of code. If we do run this body of code, let's print something. Let's go print you are on life, and then we'll put in lives. So this will keep looping while lives is greater than 0. Because lives is set to 3, there's nothing to change the value of lives, so it keeps repeating this and would print this forever. If you do run your code and you start creating an infinite loop, down the bottom there is a stop icon and you can stop that. So within those 3 or 4 seconds, we've had over 17,000 times we've been through this loop. So without a terminator, there is no way out. So let's place a terminator in there. This is the condition here, lives is greater than 0. So every time we go through, you might destroy your rocket ship or something like that. So we'll end up with lives equals lives minus 1. So therefore, every time we get to this line here, it reduces lives by 1 and puts it back in there. This can also be written as lives minus equals 1. So this will diminish lives by 1 every time we go through the loop. So let's run the program now. You can see that we've been through the loop 3 times. So you can see by the inspector we've been through the loop 3 times, and in the output area you can see you are on life 3, 2, 1, and then the program stops. So you can see the terminator is diminishing the condition, so eventually this condition goes from true to false, and therefore the program jumps over and exits. So if we wanted to, we could put print out of pre-test loop and run the program again. You can see now it's gone 3, 2, 1 out of the pre-test loop. Now let's have a look at the post-test loop. So a post-test loop is very similar to a pre-test loop, except for it starts with a repeat. In pseudocode, you'll see this as do. And the condition is at the end, while the condition. So sometimes you'll see it written as a do until or a do while statement. And what will happen is the program will run at least once before we check the condition to go back and repeat again. So let's have a look at the syntax of a post-test loop. So we start with repeat, and then we open the brace, and then we need our condition at the end. So once again we can go while lives is greater than 0. We need to set lives, and then we can print out you are on life, and then use the break command lives. And then the statement. Once again, this will continue to repeat as an infinite loop because there's no terminator within the begin brace and the end brace to turn the condition from true to false. So once again, it is important that you put in a terminator. However, you need to be very careful where you place your terminators. So let's have a look at this one running. You can see in our output, it's gone 3, 2, 1, and then finished. Once again, to point out, in a post-test loop, you don't need to prime it to enter the loop. In other words, it's got to be true to do it. Post-test loop will run at least once, where a pre-test loop may never run at all if the first condition is not met. So let's have a look at a post-test loop with a decision structure in it to activate the terminator. We're going to start with a variable called play again. And this is going to be set to true. So this is a boolean variable set to true. We're also going to set another counter, which is var counter, and this is going to be set as an integer of 0. Now we're going to repeat while play again is equal to true. So this program will continue while this flag is equal to true, because you've got to remember a single equal sign is an assignment like this, a double equal sign is a comparison. So while play again is true, we keep going around. So what do we want to do? We're going to set counter to be counter plus 1. So counter will increment every time we go through the loop. And we can actually go print playing game number, and then we can show the counter. So at the moment there is no terminator. play again flag never gets changed to false. So therefore this will go and go and go until you turn the computer off. But if we put in a decision, we can say if counter is equal to 10, we can then change the flag for play again from true to false. So once we get to game 10, we should be able to terminate the loop. Let's have a look at this running now. You can see in our output window that you're playing game 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then once it hits 10, play again is entered to false. Do we need to go back and do it again? Because this condition is no longer true, the computer continues on. You can also see we did loop through the post-test loop 10 times before play again got changed to false, where it started off as true. Now we could expand this again and put a while loop inside the post-test loop. So putting a pre-test loop inside the post-test loop. We're going to use the variable lives. And we're going to set this again to 3. And I must declare it as var. Because they're going to be changing and updating, that's why they're vars and not lets. So in here we can actually go, well, while lies is greater than 0, we can then go print you're on life, and then we can show the lives. Now once again, not only does the post-test loop need a terminator, which is here, we also need a terminator for the pre-test. So we need to change lives and -1 from that. So when this program runs now, it will still go out to 10 games, but you notice that the lives haven't reset. So in the if statement here, if it hasn't got to 10, we need to go else, and we need to reset lives back to 3, so that when we enter this loop again, it can de-increment. So let's run this again. You can now see that playing game 1, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 3, 3, 2, 1, etc. all the way down to 10, 3, 2, 1 before the computer ends. So the computer enters, the counter is incremented to 1, displays that. We then enter in the pre-test loop because lives is greater than 3, because we now reset it here, and also we've primed it before we've entered the loop, so it is greater than 0. So it enters the loop, does this loop 3 times, checks to see if the counter's up to 10, which would be no at this stage. Therefore it does the else part, which resets lives, which is de-incremented to 0, back to 3. Because play again is still set to true, it goes back up, adds 1 to the counter, which gives us the second game. Lives was reset back to 3, therefore it enters this loop again and de-increments, and does this 10 times until play again gets turned to false. Later on, this could be expanded to receive an input from a coin slot or something like that to allow the user to play again and reset the lives. So in this tutorial, we've actually looked at the conditional loops, we've looked at boolean conditions, we've looked at terminators, which are our exit tickets out of loops. We've had a look at the pre-test loop, the while loop, also the post-test loop, which is do until or repeat while, and also we've had a look at the nesting of constructs and the nesting of loops. So I hope you found this tutorial useful. If you did, give it a like, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also have a look around my YouTube channel for other useful programming tutorials. And I'll see you in the next session of Xcode in the playground. I wish you all the best with your coding.